Today I'm going to share with you two stories on people who moving into Turkey and people who moving out of Turkey. I also will share some of my analysis of current economic situation in regards with that. The reason for that, I was trying to look for some analysis on the internet and I really did not see anything would be a clear explanation of what is going on. There are some ideas, there are some reports which put out by real estate agents, and those are, in my opinion, are least reliable because they are loaded, they are skewed, they are selling you something as an idea. But I'm gonna share with you things from real people, real stories. And thus, you can subscribe, leave some comments, leave some likes, and ask me questions if you feel like it. The first story is I met a friend yesterday, not really friend, more like acquaintance. And this woman lived in Turkey for a long time, and that is a real story. She bought apartment here, she got her residency based on tapu, and then when the mobilization struck, it was 2023 I believe, in Russia, and lots of people moved in here. That was the time for her to update her residency, to apply for extension. And guess what? The extension was denied. She had everything clear, everything was right, there were no problem with whatsoever, but it was denied. She had to pack, move out, she came back, reapplied, the immigration admitted that that was a mistake, and they extended her the new residency. The underlying point is it's a new residency. The problem with that is that she was 6 months away from applying to citizenship, but now because she has a break in her residency, and that is not simple break, it's not like you are living in Turkey on the same residency and coming back, but it was a real break in terms of it's a new residency issued. Now it seems like she is not eligible for citizenship. I think if she would go through court and argue her case, maybe she would win. The problem is that now she doesn't really want to do it. She actually is thinking about selling her flat here and moving out of the country. And her daughter is married to a Turkish citizen. They actually both are thinking about moving out of the country. They're already out of the country and they're visiting their relatives, but they are intending to stay there. So most likely they will move out too. The same acquaintance told me that there are hardly anybody in her social circle left. She feels lonely, she feels lost, and she feels like it's really time to move out. Many people who were under pressure, they sold their apartments, and those who did not sell and who don't want to sell now, they basically locked them and moved out because Turkey became really expensive. And I'm talking about compared to last year, we are paying 20% more. Recently, our electric bill was increased by 38%. Essentially, the cost of electricity in Turkey was set to 38% more, and I think it will happen to everything else. As a surprise to me, the haircut decreased a little bit in price, and I'm thinking that maybe because fewer people coming and visiting, or maybe somebody complained and told that barber that it's too much, so he lowered the price somewhat, 10%, 12%. Still pleasant surprise, but it's not gonna cut it. Many other things are expensive. The meat in cost is outrageous. Many people complain about it. And if you're talking about cost of living in Turkey right now, it's not about cost of living in Turkey per se. Turkey is still much cheaper than many other countries. And it's probably the cheapest country as far as like Mediterranean access, provided there is also Albania, which is not very expensive, but any other country in European zone would be more expensive somewhat. And there aren't that many alternatives also. For instance, maybe there is a Republic of Georgia or Serbia, which are not in the European Union yet, and who knows when they will be, but people move there, and it's cheaper to live there in many ways. The problem is that When Turkey was less expensive, the value which it was offering was good. Now, when it's more expensive, there are other alternatives, and for many people, it's actually moving back to their own country. They moved here for good weather, they moved here for good, happy hospitality. They moved here because it was inexpensive, and now they're looking at their money and they're saying, look, we're paying substantially more for what we actually had in our own country. But in a contrast to that, I'm gonna give you another story which will be real contrast to people moving out. These people are moving in. Who is moving in? I've met a guy, and he is probably in his mid-40s, with his wife. His wife is from one of the Baltic republics. They have a child who is 4 or 5 years old, and they decided to move out from Europe to Turkey. I asked why. He was a pretty successful businessman there. His wife was also helping him. They decided to sell their business and move out here. The problem is, in Baltic republics, there is a situation, let's put it this way. Even though his wife is a citizen of one of those republics, his daughter is a Turkish citizen, because that's how they decided to do it. She speaks Turkish, she speaks Russian, but she doesn't speak local language, because in the family, mother was of Russian ethnicity and she lived there and she got her passport, but father is Turkish. They decided that for daughter it would be much better opportunity here. She doesn't look like she's from Baltic Republic, and she doesn't speak local language, and the school in that particular republic already completely transferred to local language, to the state language or so. So there are very few places which would offer foreign languages or other languages, and they decided that they need to move out here. They're selling their business, they're moving out here. For those people who understand what I'm trying to say without actually directly saying that, that would be a very strong message. If you are Turkish and if you are in another country, you really have to choose, and it's not necessarily Turkish. Anybody else who goes to some of these smaller countries which have very nationalistic view of life, and the opportunities they are limited to pretty much locals or those who look like locals, that's what it is. People are actually moving back to Turkey, and these people moved in. The people asked me, when do you think that exchange course will start changing? When is it going to happen that the value will be becoming more like at par to what it's used to be? Meaning that the exchange course would be around like 40 lira per dollar or so. I can tell you right now, there are some other flags which I see, and they don't come from the news. I don't really read the newspapers. They come more from observations, talking to people in their businesses. And one of the things is, there is very, very few people who are asking for short-term rent right now in Antalya. And that's not only because of the law which prohibits this short-term rent. It is because people don't want to come here. It's too expensive. And I think it's going to hurt small businesses probably more than anything else. And it will hurt further when the autumn will come, when tourists will disappear. It's used to be that some of the foreigners who lived here, who would come here, they would somewhat offset this outflow of summer tourism. This year, I don't think we're going to have it. And I think by the end of the year, that's when you can see that exchange course probably will start moving, because right now it's not moving at all. And I don't expect it to be moving. Think about it. It also slowed down real estate a great deal. Why? Because if I buy a flat, let's say for $65,000, what am I going to get from it? Appreciation? Well, maybe 3 to 5% per year. That's maybe. Rent? Okay, maybe. Again, I may be able to get, for that kind of small apartment, maybe $350 a month. On the other hand, if I take this $2 million lira and put them in a bank at 45% for a year, guess what? I get almost a million lira as a return, and that's huge. We're talking about I had 2 million, now I'm gonna have 3 million. So very few people who have money willing to buy apartment or put them into apartments. They would rather put in the bank and get their interest rate, get their money grow much rapidly. That also will slow down economy. The construction is definitely going to slow down, but it will slow other businesses which are related to that. And overall, what we see is that unemployment is growing and the market is tight and the money is tight. I may be wrong, but I think you should expect that exchange rate will be moving probably by the end of the year. I'm Vas, welcome to my channel. Remember to sign up, leave some likes, dislike. Good luck.